Okay, in our continuing conversation about Christology, we've considered the full divinity of Jesus, we've considered the full humanity of Jesus. Now we're going to take a minor excursion into modern theology and maybe track down a little fault or two. I'll call this an excursion into North American evangelical deceitism light, okay? Because it's dabbling in something that is not particularly accurate or helpful, and I want to try and name it because it's actually a fairly prevalent way of believing something about Jesus that I don't think is truthful or helpful, and that is this. The North American evangelical church, I could say probably the Western evangelical church, let's be fair, has this idea that Jesus is fully human. However, his humanity is better than ours, because we can often assume, and sometimes it's taught and sometimes it's just subconsciously distributed, that the humanity that Jesus assumed was pre-fall. Okay? It was the humanity, the system, the human nature that Adam had before the fall, so uncompromised, untainted, unbroken by the sinfulness of the fall. And so Jesus comes as the new Adam, so has this condition that is superior to ours, because we are the sons and the daughters of Adam. We have this broken condition. We are all faulted by the fall, and so we imagine that Jesus has this condition that is unfaulted by the fall, because he assumed something that was before Adam and brought that into the middle of history. Okay, I've personally also thought that a number of years ago when I was thinking these things through. That was the idea that I had as well. I was thinking, yeah, because if Jesus arrives with a sinful nature as one of the children of Adam into this broken world with a broken nature, then he's part of the problem. He's not the solution. And how can he solve our problem if he's already got this thing that's wrong with him that all the rest of us have wrong with us too? I think there's some reasonably logical thinking there. However, this is where we need to listen to Gregory of Nazianzus again, because he is dealing with these exact issues, and he is, I think, much wiser than I am, and many of us are. And he speaks to this in the 4th century, and he does so in such a specific way, an important way, that it has actually been Orthodox Christian theology for pretty much the whole of church history until very recent generations, when there has been a twist in this. So here's what Gregory of Nazianzus says. He says that which has not been assumed has not been healed. That which has not been assumed has not been healed. And he proposes the case that Jesus actually must become one of the sons of Adam. He must enter into the broken condition we have. He must be that which we are in order to be our high priest, in order to represent us, in order to heal us. And his logic is actually better than thinking that if Jesus is in this, he's part of the problem and not the solution. Gregory of Nazianzus would say, actually, that's exactly where he needs to be. He needs to be in the middle of the problem. He needs to assume our fallen condition. That's the whole point of the gospel. He actually becomes one of us. He is born under the law to redeem those who are under the law. He becomes a curse so that those who are cursed might be set free. He who knew no sin became sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God. Romans chapter 8 verse 3, really interesting verse, says that Jesus came, and it's awkward Greek, but the literal translation is that he came in the semblance of the flesh of sin. So all of that put together says this, that Jesus became actually fully and completely human, as in exactly what we are, with our fallen nature. However, remaining completely sinless. So he adopted our condition, but did not live as we lived, because we would often just give in to temptation, wouldn't we? We will often have our own selfish ways. However, we're told that Jesus was without fault, the spotless Lamb of God, without blemish, without flaw, without sin, without fault. So that's the beauty and the genius even more of the gospel, is that Jesus actually enters fully into the problem with us to become actually who and what we are. And then through the cross, first of all through his perfect obedience, then through his sacrificial death, and then through his resurrection, conquers and triumphs over the problem, triumphs over all the opposition. So to use Gregory of Nazianzus' own logic, if he says that that which is not assumed is not healed, then it means that that which has been assumed can be healed, has been healed. And if Jesus assumed our full broken condition, then he can heal our full broken condition by being victorious and conquering over it in his life and death and resurrection. And that is a better gospel, I think. A much better gospel than imagining that Jesus is somehow, anesthetized from our condition and kept separate from it so that he's not contaminated. No, he's part of who we are. He's just like us, and yet remained without sin. It is so important and so good. And what a privilege to be able to consider these things and grow in these things together. So enjoy pondering that, and we'll see each other again soon. Till then, peace.